All right, all right.
Howdy.
How you guys doing? All right, so
Like a month.
I'm back because I've been gone for about a month now. Yeah, I took a just so people kind of have an idea of why we haven't been doing this for a long time. I had a trip to Sevilla, Spain, for several weeks, and so that was it was kind of a work function, and it was a lot of fun. Very interesting, cool place. The buildings were awesome. Just the entire vibe, the cathedrals and all that kind of stuff was really
Yeah.
cool to kind of go and check out. So,
I
um,
went through I went through Europe because it's kind of similar in all throughout the older Europe, right? When I was like 20 years old, I went on a 3-week bus tour. So I've seen all those big buildings and it's just amazing how the streets are small and they're like brick, like a lot of times there's like cobblestone or brick roads in between buildings still.
yeah,
Is that same way right there in Spain, right?
yeah, it's. I mean, you can. There's cars that kind of drive around, but it's largely
Yeah.
just walk,
Yeah.
and it's like
It's
it's
it's just
crazy
so
because
thin.
it's
It's not meant to fit, it's like an alley.
yeah,
A lot
it's
of these streets.
basically an alley. Everywhere you go, and what I thought was really interesting is the how kind of like there's a certain portion of Sevilla where when you go in, when you're kind of in that area, everything is like an alleyway, and so you can kind of turn down any one of them, and there's just a ton of shops.
Yeah.
Whereas usually there's kind of like here's a strip, and at the strip is where all the shops are, and then you kind of have housing and stuff like that. But here it's like it's shops all over the place.
And housing on the upper floor.
Housing on the upper
Yeah.
floors.
That's
Um,
that's Europe.
yeah, it was. I thought it was really cool, and I really liked the
That's
just
also New
how
York.
everything was designed in large sense to just walk around, like get into the
See,
city,
that is the
walk.
dream of people in America today for when they make new things. Like they make Du there's a city called DuPont here in Washington, which was there was an old part, but they made a whole new part and they got to do it all at once. It's really close to the base, and there was a big ramp up several years ago with people, and so they just built this place up. Boom, new city, and then they built this town center, built trying to pretend everyone was going to walk everywhere. And
Yeah.
then the reality is that no one wants to walk, um, and there's no parking. And so, like, the parking is like there's a lot somewhere, and you have to walk to the place where you do shops. But instead, what happens is none of the shops that they were trying to put in place ever succeeded. They all died, and it
Mm,
all just ended up being like real estate places or whatever places that don't need to have foot traffic anymore because like no one wants to do that. They try to force it, but like
yeah,
when it's natural like that, when you have the residentials living above and the
that's where it
businesses
works.
below, and then where they're actually, and then that makes sense. But to not have the purposely not have street parking and not have parking spaces near the businesses is stupid. You're assuming that people would say like, well, we have to get to these little cool little shops, so therefore we would just accept that we have to walk around like Europeans. But like, no,
Yeah,
Americans are not going to do that. They're going to say like, well, I guess we'll go somewhere else where I
I
don't
can
have
go
to walk
to
that
another
much.
place. Like one of the things I noticed about Sevilla and just Spain, the various places that I went to, is that they were like a lot of the shops. Um, what is it? It's like a lot of it is stuff you can get here, or it's like bootleg stuff. But there were some places that were like unique, like clothing shops, where it was like, okay, here's name brands, here's brands that I've never seen before. Um, so there are things like that, but for Americans, it's kind of like, look, if I want something, I can go on eBay or I can go on Amazon or I can go wherever. I could just order the thing that I want.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it works so well unless we built something that attracted tourists. Like here's a large town that has a ton of charm to it. You're not coming here
Yeah.
for the shops. You're
So
coming here, and it would be a tourist kind
yeah.
of a thing. And then the locals would be able to participate in that
So
miniature
I used to
economy.
like I used to like Seattle when it was clean, normal city. Um, like 15 plus years ago. I used to kind of like going to Seattle, and there's places like you go, like there are shops you can go to that are a little bit like Banana Republic. It's just like
Hmm.
like it's more of a destination type of place. You don't they're not everywhere, right? They're only in some of the city centers. It's like there's Old Navy, Gap, and the Banana Republic. They're all part of the same company, like group company, but
Yep.
like it's like they're like the more exclusive. Like we have the coolest, the more expensive cuts and whatever. So there's things like that. There's these cool little clothing stores and cool little things that are in Seattle, and it fit fine there until it's not safe to be there anymore. And so no one wants to go there. Why do you want to go if you're not safe, or if there's no parking, right? It's just there's
Yeah.
both the problems that
Well,
happen. So
that actually reminds me of what very recently happened in San Francisco with their all of their homeless population and everything,
mm,
and the problem of San Francisco. You've heard about this?
you talking about the cure to the
The
cleaning
Cure.
up the city. It's
Yeah.
called
Well,
G. The cure is called G, by the way. It's called G.
I hear people saying that, and I don't quite get it because I haven't investigated this whole
Okay,
thing.
so the idea is that G was coming to visit San Francisco, and so
Oh,
so Newsom cleans it up. They made it
really?
happen. It can happen, and it happened. That the cure is G coming. I'm sure it's gonna
Wow.
be poop filled once again, and maybe it's just certain sections. I don't know what sections, but it isn't it amazing what motivates people. Like
Yeah.
it's not motivation enough that you're living in garbage and there's filth that you're not living in, but your citizens are living in, and you're allowing it to happen because you don't want to oppress people. Because you don't want to oppress people by telling them their choices are bad and not allowing them to do certain things. But like, if you have a president come, or if you have like the Xi from China, if something like that happens, like if Joe Biden were to be coming to town and do a parade in there, they would clean that shit up too. That happens everywhere. It's not just San Francisco, but isn't it amazing what can be done when you put your mind to it?
When you put, yeah, I mean, it doesn't even, it's not
Just
even
like
your
you just
mind.
decide to
It's
do it.
just,
You
yeah, it's
decide
just
to make
simple
it a
decision.
priority, and you freaking do it. And then you just need to hold it accountable. You need to hold people accountable. Like, no, you can't sleep there. No, you can't sleep there.
Yeah.
No, you can't sleep there.
Which is why I feel like this is a like all of the homeless problem, and it's not that these homeless people are gone. They've suddenly disappeared. They've just been relocated or something. I don't know honestly where they've gone, but they just can't be on the streets anymore because they set up these like fences. Which is even more ironic is
Yep.
that like these California um politicians and everything, they're like, walls don't work, this is, they're not gonna blah blah blah, and it's like, and I heard Trump the other day, he goes, the only two things that always work that stand the test of time are wheels and walls. And I was like, oh well, here you go, like you
So
set up some walls that just
you
line the
see, the thing
sidewalks.
is not that Democrats don't know that walls don't work. It's that if Democrats had the idea of a wall, they would be all for it.
Yeah.
But they have to be opposite. They have to
Yeah.
not give credit to any good idea
Yeah.
to anything, especially that Trump says.
Yeah.
It has to be whatever that is, bad. Whatever it is, bad. 100%.
Yeah.
This clock is right 0 times. It's never right, not even twice a day.
Zero wins. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's honestly absurd, for it to have gone as far as it did and get as bad as it did, and then now all of a sudden it's just kind of like, and it kind of reminds me like of uh Kim Jong Un and North
Yeah.
Korea, and how like he won't allow tourists to go unguided and to go outside of effectively Pyongyang. And that's because he has Pyongyang really well cleaned up. It looks
Yeah.
good. Everything is like well set and all that. It's the most cosmetically
there are
pleasant
like
place to
flyers
be.
on the wall. There's a journalist that went and then they stole a flyer off the wall or
It
something
was just a kid who went some like it,
and brought tried to bring it home and he got seized or killed or something, right?
he
Or
eventually died, but he got captured, imprisoned, tortured, until he was mentally
yeah.
uh, destroyed and his health seriously depleted, and then they just sent him back right before he died.
Hmm.
So he made it back, and then he basically immediately died. So I mean,
He- he-
it was
yeah.
crazy. So for like I when you said like G came, I was like, this sounds like uh, like it's all image based. It's not like G can't look and see online that San Francisco is is so garbage.
Well, if he shows up and he sees it as not, he can be like, "Oh yeah, internet lies all the time. From what I see, it's clean."
Yeah, but we all know that that's not gonna that he would never do. He would never even think that.
Plus, he wouldn't
He's
even
gonna
know. I
think,
I don't think
oh
that he cares about San Francisco, honestly.
no, I don't think that he care. It's not G
I
you're
mean,
talking
I don't
about.
think he cares if it's clean or if it isn't, if it even matters at all. It's like I don't know when they
I
clean
think
it up.
I think that it's more like um, we didn't want to give a bad impression, but he already knows that San Francisco. He's already received the bad impression of San Francisco and of the United States, and so it does. I don't think that it really matters one way or the other. I think all that it really means to him is like, oh, so these guys, they can clean this up. They can fix this issue, probably very temporarily, because in several months it's going to be right back where it was before, unless they make some serious policy changes. So I think that if anything, Xi takes this as a win for him because he's like, look what I made these guys do just by showing up, and they can't fix their country on their own. They need my
They needed me to
presence.
do it. Yeah.
They need my presence to do this. And when you're kind of basing policy off of image and presence of other people, it's it's really crappy, and it understandably so, which is largely the reason for why a lot of people, it's not largely the reason, but it's a reason why people laugh at North Korea, is because like they can't take care of their country. They can only take care of a very small minority of people, and here we are. We can't take care of our country of our people, and all that we do is we just say, hey, you know what? Um, we can clean this stuff up, but we're not really going to take the time to do it on our own. We need inspiration through other foreign leaders, which is honestly that much more gross. Um,
Yep.
it's like these politicians, they're not doing things for the people; they're doing it for an image, and they're
Well,
effectively
if I were
banking
to
on
argue for there,
people being content with it.
if I were to argue for like Newsom, you can say that he didn't do it for himself. He did it for America and how it's perceived in the rest of the world. So I'm just giving him an argument here. So
Sure.
like,
Well, my counter to
I
that is
mean,
like,
maybe that's even true, but I'm saying that you should care more about America to do it without someone watching.
yeah, well, I don't. Okay, for how it perceives, I appreciate the argument against. I think that uh, depending on like if you're after how the world and foreign governments perceive you and your country, then you should be on top of this stuff from day one. Because it
Yeah,
honestly makes you
always as
look
optics
worse.
instead of actual
Yeah,
the lifestyle that people have to live.
to me it makes you look far worse when you can't take care of this stuff um normally, like on a just a regular, without anything. Like it just kind of goes to show that you don't really care about the people in your city. You care about another country's opinion, which doesn't even it it's not like he doesn't know. He can investigate. He could just look up. He could probably Google San Francisco streets or just San Francisco. Click on images, and you'll probably just see bums and shit. Like it's not like this stuff is hidden from him, and it's so all of a sudden he just comes there and it's like, okay, well, we're gonna we're gonna do this. So it's
Yep.
that's a really silly unfortunate thing, and I hope that this kind of he gets a level of a backlash from Democrats for this kind of a thing.
I
You
think he'll
you
get
you had us
praised.
do this. You had
I
us
think
suffer
he'll
through
get
this for years.
I think he'll get praised for cleaning it up, and that's what it'll be.
If he can maintain, if he can keep
You
it
know what?
clean,
If they maintain and they put policies in place to keep it maintained, I'll give them the credit. But
I'll give him
if
half
it's just that one
credit.
time cleaning and then it turns in the garbage within 6 months, it's just like what's the point?
I would give him half credit, and I would say, how come this? Like, I think his criticisms should be, and the media and any future elections, they should bring up like, you got this stuff cleaned up in like a day. Why couldn't you just do this? And but you did it for G. Why couldn't you do this for the people? You just you just never
Yeah,
thought of it. You never took the time.
right. Um, but I'm just saying that you don't when you have Democrats in the media, they're not going to make that. Yes, you are correct. That is the point against it. But when you have people that are trying to prop up a certain party or a
They're
certain
not going to do
perspective,
that. Yeah,
they're not going to say that. They're going to just say that you've cleaned up San Francisco and it is much better now. It's it was bad for a while, but you really stepped it up and said and then they'll give them the opportunity to say something it was just so important, blah 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 blah, blah and we couldn't. And you know what? There's a certain point in time where a lot of this dude could just have some. He has certain things he'll just say that just sound like he did the hard work to get it to happen, and things have to go in place. And there's civil liberty protections that you had to sort through before you could do anything. There's any sort number of lines that will blur the details because there's you get so many facts out there, you don't know which ones are true or which ones had anything to do with anything. And so it still doesn't. I'm saying I'm a little bit of a downer because it doesn't matter because whatever happens is going to be portrayed as the liberal media is the Democrats did good here no matter what happens.
yeah. It's
So it's
what a wild situation.
it is good to clean it. It is good to clean it. It just I just wish that they would just have that policy, not to just clean up after messes, but to not allow people to just create the filth and exist on the streets. I'm sure they're back now. I have no idea. You know what? Like I haven't been listening to the news hardly at all. I've been listening to, like I said, I've been listening to radio shows that have been around for 20 years, and they're playing the rock music and whatever. Um, but I look on YouTube's. I watch some Tim Pool stuff like that when I get home sometimes. But and I see clips about things, and I see some articles in Daily Wire or even on Yahoo News or something. Um, I forgot where I was going with this,
Yeah.
but
Well, what that whole thing kind of actually reminds me of is like when you have. So I guess that there can be. I feel like there are negative ways to bring attention. Like there's how do I put it? Like there's negative ways. I'll just say it and I'll clarify it. There's negative ways to bring attention to a problem that then gets it fixed, and then there's also positive ways to bring attention to something that then gets it fixed. Um, and I think that a large part of what a lot of stuff, the fact of the matter is a lot of the stuff that revolves around these kinds of things like homelessness and whatever the problem is based on optics and how it can help a vote in effect, um, or make somebody look good or bad. Like there has to be some sort of political win that comes out of it. And so if you can reduce your own city and just allow it to fall into chaos, you can take the hits for that, but then when you get out of it, then you get all of the glory for it. But it reminds me actually a bit of when somebody else can kind of co-opt it, co-opt your cleaning up of your city. Um, and so that it kind of reminds me of when Trump did the whole like Baltimore is infested with rats, it's rat infested, and then they blew it up and they turned it into, oh, I can't believe that you're calling black people
I
racist.
can't you believe that you hate Baltimoreans and
Well, it was
yeah,
black
so
people is largely
yeah.
what it was, which I thought was enormously racist because I had never heard of anybody, probably in my entire life, referring to black people as rats. So I thought that it was absolutely bizarre
Yeah,
that they would take that
it doesn't
line.
happen. A rat obviously is a snitch. It's not anything to do with the color of
Yeah.
his skin.
And so and then what ended up happening is that because he pointed out that the city was so crappy, um it caused, and the due to the backlash in large part because the backlash against Trump for the racist comments, which clearly weren't racist, um, it caused Trump supporters to go down to Baltimore, and they then cleaned up the city. They cleaned up all the garbage. They did a whole bunch of stuff. So they kind of co-opted the cleaning up
Yeah,
of that city, because it was clear
I
that
didn't know
they
that.
weren't going to do it. I mean, imagine if Xi were to be like, "Hey, I'm coming to Baltimore." Do you think Baltimore would be filled
So
with garbage and rats all over the place? Like,
uh,
probably not. They probably
well,
would
it
take.
depends. You know what? Actually, it depends because I don't know who the mayor or governor is
I don't know who it is
of.
anymore.
So, um, I would say that Newsom has ambition, and he's trying to be the nominee, obviously. Um, and so like he's going to be proactive in these type of things. There are some people that they're like they're just part of the system, and they're a victim along with everything else. They don't understand. They don't even know that they can take these active steps to even pretend. Like like especially in a place like Baltimore, like Baltimore, Chicago. I'm sure a lot of these places they have these things that they say that are too they're poll tested and whatever else, but they have no active bones in their body to actually do anything, and they wouldn't even know what to do, like that, "Oh, we can clean up to pretend? Oh," but
Yeah,
Newsom is aware of, he's smart, he can calculate, he'd be like, "I bet what if we got all the city services? What if we just did this?" I think that not every governor or every whatever the municipality leadership, I don't think not everyone would or would be able to. It's not a matter of
that I don't understand. To me, it's the most common sense thing. If you have a problem, put as many of your resources that you can into fixing that problem. Even if it's just a quick temporary, like, hey, look, we're just gonna take a week. We're gonna stop. We're gonna divert these resources into these other that are going to these other places, and we're just gonna work on focusing on fixing this problem.
yeah.
And you can do it.
I
You
don't
can
think some
fix it.
people I don't think some people do that. I think some people look at it from like, okay, I want to imagine it with because I don't have any particular politician in mind, like, but I have this idea of what Chicago is, just a mess of people that have power and they just preside over the same thing and the same type of people that are all slaves to their own votes. Like people that they vote to the same policy, the same type of people all the time, and they've been stuck in the same rut forever. So these type of politicians that lead that are just um they think of the only way to solve it is to create another government program, new money. All they can think about
Yeah,
is, oh, new money, or we need to get federal dollars to do this. We need to create a commission of people to do this X thing. They don't think about using the current resources and reallocate them in different ways. They don't think that way. They think about new money for new projects and expand constant expansion. And so it's just a different way of thinking. And I think that Newsom is smart enough that he can do both because he wants to always expand, but he's
I don't know about that. I don't know that he's smart enough to do both because this
I
option
think
has
he's really
already
clever.
been
I
on
think
the
he's
top.
really clever. Like
Yeah, but
in the
this isn't a
Hannity interview,
clever
he's very
thing though.
clever.
This is not a clever thing. This is just a simple thing of like, hey, I mean, if you've got a bunch of trash on the streets, what do you need to do? You need to create another program to what have like three people go out a day to clean up like one thousandth of the garbage that's on the streets. Like no, you
It's
just
more than
dive you
I think it's a bigger project than you think it is. It's there are probably 80 square blocks that need massive management
there's nothing that
daily.
stopped there's nothing that stopped him from fixing this problem a month prior, a year prior, 3 years prior.
Yeah.
There's nothing that stopped him from doing it. It's not like, oh, this is an idea that just popped in my head of this is what I need to
Yeah.
of this is I need to come up with the solution. It's like, did you not work on trying to come up with a solution before? Did you not care? What's going on here? It's to me it's like if you've got a problem, you divert resources that you currently have in order to fix that problem. That option has always been on the table. He's known it's always been on the table because he's obviously using it now. I don't want to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's that stupid to say, oh, yeah, I couldn't
No,
do
right.
this before, but now I can. He clearly could have, and he just
Yes.
chose
I
not to.
Yes, we know that to be true. But I'm saying is that when I say clever, I think that he is a
Politically,
smart
maybe, I
man,
guess.
not in inventing this solution. I'm not talking about him inventing the solution is particularly clever. I'm meaning that he can actually implement a plan if he decides to do it. He can implement. He can actually get things moving. He knows who to talk to and how to make things move. And a lot of people from these like a Chicago type of person I'm thinking about would like they can't even think in those terms. Like, do your jobs harder. Like it's more like it's not they're just thinking that this is the reality and everyone's doing the best that they can and we need more new money. And they just don't have the thought process to work through the problem that same way.
I struggle with giving him the line of credit of being clever. I think that the farthest I could probably go is that he's resourceful when he chooses to be.
Okay. I'm
Um,
not I'm not
yeah,
I don't need the word
clever.
clever, but uh, the thing is
I'm stingy with words.
I saw him interviewed on I saw him interviewed on Sean Hannity, and yes, you can say he's very slick for sure too, because he really gets in there, but he is very smart about his choice of words and how he twists things, and he's a smart guy. He's a smart guy. You don't like the word clever because it sounds too positive, because you don't like
I
him, and I
think
don't
in the
like him either. But
context of this specific
all right, in
situation,
in context of this, there
I don't think
you
there's
don't need
anything
any
clever about
level of
it.
cleverness to understand that you should be doing this. And it's just a matter of the frame of mind of like of where you're sitting and what you think is possible, what you think should happen. Because if you could look at it from very if you look at it by, oh, this janitor, he's doing the best as he can. This city worker is doing the best that they can, do the best that they can. And you're looking at like, I have to, in order to get more done, I have to ask them all to do even more for the same pay. And then that's not fair at all. So we need to get more and more. So they have this idea they need to get more resources to be able to accomplish more that's not being done already. Instead of
Sure,
saying like, I don't know what kind of lazy ass jobs you guys are doing, but like, well, this is what's happening. We're all going to do this. We're all going to do this, and redirecting resources such that is active instead of passive and not efficient. Because when you get into the drudgery, you're mopping the same floor or you're doing the same roads or whatever else. You're sweeping roads the same 7 rows over again because it's a nice little circle and you have a lunch at this one spot instead of like doing more of the city. There's all sorts of little details, loss of efficiency, loss of actual productivity that's in place that isn't addressed because it has to be every little person has to be micro it has to be almost like analyzed. Every little there has to be too many people that are active plugging in making that happen, and you have to have the right type of leader to be able to even go that route. And I don't think that
Not
um
everybody is
yeah,
necessary. I can agree with that. Not everybody is has the frame of mind to work to think about those kinds of things. Um, if 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 other this whole thing was not something that was um, undoable before, right? But
mhm,
I think that he was able to take a level of pressure, a level of political pressure that was based on optics, and use it to get results. I guess so. I guess I can give him credit for doing the deed and coming together to do the deed. To me, I look at this whole situation as like all you needed was a simple plan. And it's not like I don't personally I don't think that you have to micromanage everybody and analyze and do all this stuff and make sure that these
maybe not.
people aren't
Maybe
going around
maybe
in
all
circles.
Newsom did is hire a third party group of like a party cleanup crew, or like
Maybe.
maybe that's all he did is maybe just spent he spent like $1.2 million and had some group that cleans up for large events. So like we're doing cleaning off these 7 square blocks. I have no idea how much.
I don't
Maybe
even
it was
think that
really simple.
there's I don't even think that there's that much that's necessary for him to do. All of the resources are already there as far as I can tell. You've got all you need is garbage men. You need minor construction, probably people who are able to put up fences, right? And then you need police. So you get the police to take the people
Police is
and
really
you
hard
remove them.
because yeah, police don't want to do it because they're getting put in jail for policing.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because this is what the governor mandates is that you are tasked to removing these people's tents, removing their stations, and getting them out. And then you have the garbage crew come up, and then they I mean it's three, it's only three. It's the simplest thing. Then they come through and they pick up all the garbage. They just go around through all the streets and they just gather up all the garbage.
Pick
They
up
throw
all
it
the
away.
belongings slash garbage. Yes. The
Sure,
problem is the belongings part is that you're going into civil liberties route. I mean area.
take it with you. If you can't take it with you, it's garbage. That's what I
Yep.
mean, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the construction people who are there, who are just like all that they need to know skill wise is how to put two poles into each other so that they can create these makeshift fences and then line the streets with them to prevent them, or set up or drop rocks like we have in Washington. They just put rocks in on the curb so you can't set up tents,
We
or
should
planters or
or just
something like
issue
that.
cattle prods to everyone, right?
Well, no, you don't need to do that, but
Ah.
but it's like that's it's really not a difficult because all of those resources are already there. You know, you've already got a police force that aren't really policing. So you just task them to doing things. This is what I need you to do. And it's not even very long. You just say, this is what's happening. You guys got to get out of here. We're done with this. You know, you guys got to find a way to make it somewhere else. This is not appropriate. You guys are pissing and pooping all over the
Yep.
streets.
So
Can't do this.
how about you find some good country road to do that on, you know?
Yeah,
How about find some good country road somewhere where
dude,
you're not blocking traffic,
go
you're
somewhere
not
else.
in front of someone's store.
Yeah. So
I mean, there's no reason if you're living outside and that's where you're living, there is zero reason why you can't live off of food stamps for food. You get
yeah,
plenty of food to survive. So Their survival is not at stake. It's
Oh
they
man.
want to live where they want to live in filth where they want to live, and we say no, sorry.
So I thought of an idea about a week ago or something, and I was like, this seems like it works. So this seems like it would work. Okay, so you don't have these food trucks or whatever that are going out and just feeding. Because I got this idea because I was listening to this homeless guy and he was talking. He was like, look, they come, they provide me with needles. I can get my own drugs. They provide me with needles, they provide me with food, and they provide me with shelter. So I have zero incentive, zero reason to change my lifestyle at all. And so I was
Yep.
like, what? And he's like, another plan needs to happen in order to get me to stop doing what I'm doing. And I was like, okay, well, just you could have, this was my idea, is you have it so that, um, you give them a job, which is very simple. It's walking around the streets cleaning up garbage. You can task them for all kinds of different things. When I was in Sevilla, they had cleaning crews that would go through, um, and they would vacuum uh, the the streets, and they would have people with
You'd
leaf
almost have to
blowers.
when you have the cobblestone or the bricks. You almost have to. You can't even.
Sure. Either what, however we want to do it, there are tools that allow us to clean up the garbage,
Yep.
right? And you don't want to have garbage. I mean, garbage. The I don't want to call them garbage people because they're not garbage people. They're great, but the people who pick up the garbage, right?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I thought if you have homeless people be garbage people, then they actually are garbage
They are
people.
garbage people. So, but it's. I mean,
I'm
they
being
do it at
mean a little
Disneyland.
bit, but it's for fun.
Yeah, I mean they do it at Disneyland. They clean up everything, right? So, and then what you do is you don't pay them in money. You don't pay them in cash. You don't give them a check. You give them coupons. And when you
And then
what
they
you can
sell those
do,
coupons for money, which they buy booze.
I guess so. I guess they can do that, or they can
I
turn
say
in
that
these
what they can
tickets,
do is they can go to X and X location and you can get a meal.
put it on a card that's associated with your name. I mean, there's solutions for
Yeah.
this that I can think of off the top of my head. Which, just to counter it real quick, give them a card, and that card is linked to their name, and they have to show ID before they can render any of the
Yeah.
services that are granted to them.
Yeah.
Boom,
Before
done. Right?
before EBT, they had actual food stamps, which are basically like monopoly money
Yeah,
that they would just sell. So like $100 for food stamps, pay me $50 for this, and you get $100 at the grocery store. And they're like, okay. And they
yeah.
would just give them $50 and then they could go buy the booze.
So here's step two then. So that's how you get your food,
Yeah.
right? Because you have to fulfill the needs. You have to find ways to fulfill the needs. Then you say, okay, because these people are living on the streets as it is, so you don't give them a home immediately. They have to work to be able to get that. So then at that point, now they've got a sense of accomplishment. Now, once you have worked and you've cashed in X amount of your tickets, um, then you are granted a shelter ticket, which provides you with a living space, and they could be in, who knows, I mean it can be in all kinds. You can do this in all kinds of different ways. You can have little mini houses that they go into. They could be
Go
in
like Japan. No,
reduced housing income
go to the
places.
Japan route. You know, Japan route, when you go there, you can rent a space. Basically, it's just like a
It's a
sleep
pod,
apartment.
right?
It's a pot. They're all like there's like tons of them stacked upon each other. You climb in almost like a spaceship, or you climb up and get in the ladder, and you climb on in. You That's where you can sleep.
Sure. Just yeah. And it doesn't have. You don't
You
want to
can get
make it so that they're
you can
necessarily
get twenty
comfortable.
thousand people in the space of an apartment building instead of it being individual whole where they get whole one bedroom apartments
Yeah. And so then,
for
well, I mean,
someone not to take
you
care
want to
of it.
make it so that they're able to have a bed, they can have a kitchen, they can have a sink, they can have a refrigerator, right? They have these kinds of they have a shower, right?
Ah,
You
there
got to
can be
make it so that they
communication.
can have a
Yes,
shower.
they need to have a they can have a community location for access to kitchen and whatever, and they only have access to it if they're not,
Sure, I guess
destroying it.
so. Yeah, and if you
They
yeah, it
have to
could be a
keep it
community
managed,
shower too, I
and
guess.
it's a place to socialize,
Sure,
and you can't go in there unless you shower first or something like that,
you
some
can
sort
set
of.
out these rules. Sure, and then and then after that, so now you've got your food and you've got your shelter, and they are set to be able to make it. However, they're still going to need something else, which is a job, like an actual like a job that pays that enters them into society, because these are just government work plans that are like, here, look, we're just, rather than just giving you the food, we're going to have you go pick up garbage for it, and you go and you turn in the garbage, and then you get your coupon
Yeah.
or your ticket or whatever. um, and then you have a government system that hires them, um, that creates a job in some form, some fashion, and it creates a job, and then they can go and they can work, um, legitimate job. It may be low, it may be whatever, but they're making something. And if they want, they can say, "Hey, you know what? I want to save my money." They still have the option to go and clean up the streets and collect coupons so that they can get their food, so that they can pay for their housing, so they can still do that stuff, but they can also collect money on the side, and it might be just like, here's a part-time job. So it's ways to slowly integrate them back into society.
They can go
um
ahead and deliver newspapers at 5 o'clock in the morning.
sure, and you could say whatever you want. It does, like, they could do whatever. And
I'm saying no one's gonna even notice who you are. They're not gonna care if you're homeless or not. If you, as long as you get the papers to them, that's all that matters.
right. And so I feel like there are so many solutions. I mean, I've come up with all kinds of different solutions for dealing with the homeless people, with that population. Um, and so that's just my more recent one, and I feel like it's pretty good. Um,
We
there's
just need to find the human coordinate. Eh, You know what that means.
it's probably a
I've been
Star
watching
Trek thing
Attack
or
on
something.
Titans, and there's a coordinate is like the one's able to just control all the Titans just by telling them what to do.
Oh,
So
okay.
you need to find a human version of that that just basically tells humans, don't do nothing with your lives, and how about you work and find meaning through existing properly.
Yeah.
It's sad. I am definitely very jaded by the whole thing. Individually have compassion, um, but the whole system itself frustrates me so much, and so it's easy to say things that are, like the first time we talked about this a couple months ago, and I was actually pushing against you, saying like, "Oh, let's just push them into the sea. Uh, let's just let's just get a bulldozer and push them into the sea, and then it'll be over with, right?" Um,
Just make some Soylent Green to start that.
yeah, exactly. We've seen a Soylent Green factory. Um, it is easy to just want to delete the problem by like just throwing them in the garbage, and I don't want to throw them in the garbage as humans.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm also really frustrated, and I don't have any patience for it. So it's like
A
we
precursor.
need to just set rules and abide by it, whether they give us sad eyes or not. Or no matter what kind of pouty lip people they are, or what I mean the equivalent. You can't just like if your kid wants to do something, they're like, but you can't just give in to them because I feel
Right.
compassion. You have to set adult rules and make them follow them, and have consequences that are then implemented. Um, and no, there ultimately needs to be very little to no mercy given in these consequences, because otherwise every scenario every scenario is an edge case that is just forgiven, and it just turns into
Yep.
that. That's what it is now, where every edge case is just like, well, I mean, it's always just one person, right? Every just one person. We can do this for this person. Well, we can do it for this person. It's all the people that get this. So you need to have actual consequences that are not so extreme that you would ever feel like you're sentencing someone to death, but like you have to have actual consequences and set rules and always go by them, and anything otherwise has to be done by the court. It can't be done by individuals. It needs to not be anything in the field where they have it's like, sorry, I have no power. You can go talk to you can go, here's the card, you can go apply this, you can try to talk to a judge or whatever else, but no, this is what's happening. No, you can't be here. You have to do this. If you can't do that, you can't stay here. You do this, or you go to prison, or you go whatever it is, or you go to a mental hospital. I don't know what it is,
Yeah.
but
So
you
I
just can't
guess
be there. You just can't be out. You can't be out here living in the streets or sitting camping in front of convenience stores. So
that's what I was
frustrating.
gonna kind of
I'm
get
so mad.
into, or I was gonna mention was like I need a precursor to the original steps of just like, hey, you guys get coupons, like just go to work because they need
Mhm.
some sort of incentive in order to start doing that. In which case, you have to lay down the law and you say there is no outdoor street camping. You don't get to do that. You pitch a tent on the sidewalk or in a park or something like that, it gets torn down immediately, and you go to jail. That's what, like, you just lay that out immediately.
Yeah, you lose all the belongings, and then you go to jail. I mean, all those
Well,
belongings just go.
okay, so I mean, I guess that
Like,
you maybe get to that point because you have to kind of, or
well,
you say, okay, we've opened up these facilities so that you can get clean, and when you get clean, then you
yeah.
enter into these places. So it incentivizes them to go into these places, and if they don't choose to do that, then they get arrested, and then they get clean in jail, and then they are um, then they can enter into the system of gaining the coupons and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's
So
true. Yeah.
you have things
That is
can be
one
done.
way to enter into the system is through prison, and then or not prison, but maybe prison, maybe some prison, but probably more jail,
Some
or
holding
they're there for
center,
2
some,
weeks, 3 weeks or something.
I mean, ideally, I'd be like, look, you create you take some building that's not populated. You populate it and with I don't know, people who can deal with drugs. The government hires them so that they can help them get off of their drugs. They can wean them off. They can do whatever they need to do safely.
So that already exists, by the way, and I delivered one of them.
Yeah,
They
it's
have
a
3.
government regulate. It's like government controlled.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's 4 different facilities that I deliver to, just one organization, and it's throughout Lakewood and Tacoma, where, for instance, like, they have a methadone dispensary part in one of them, that's part of the recovery process, and they have there's counseling areas, and they have all sorts of stuff. So what you're talking about already exists. It's
it's not
just
even being in use.
huh? Oh, no, no, it's super busy. They use a lot of water. All these people have to come in for the drug tests all the time, or their
Okay.
piss tests and stuff.
Well, I guess it
They're
needs
used
to
a
be
lot,
expanded.
but it's just like how it's done is it's more like just the people are broken, and we can't force them to do anything. And so they can only do as much as puts them onto their feet enough that they feel like so until they get their bearings again with life. Is like, yeah, I can make all the bad decisions I want. Like when you're desperate and you're destitute and you're like, I please I don't know anything anymore. Then you want to go to these services and you
Yeah.
want to do it. You can't take it. But as soon as you get back up and you don't feel on top of the world per se, but you feel like you clarity, you kind of have a grab, you say this is over here, this is over here, you get a sense of the world again, and you kind of get orientation upon yourself, and then you can fall into the darkness and you still kind of know where things are for a while. And
Hmm.
that's what they do in cycles, is that they go through and they get they get desperate, so they come in and they use and then they go through the system and they get some help until they get to the point where they're like almost healthy or healthy-ish, and enough that they don't feel like grasping for help anymore. They don't have that helplessness anymore. They
Right.
have agency.
Yeah.
They get agency, and then they decide to destroy their lives over and over and over again. And so and we can't stop them from doing it. We
But we
can't
do.
say no.
But we do. It seems like, okay. in a sense, with the Gavin Newsom stuff in San Francisco, the resources are there. The ability to accomplish these things are already there. It's just that they're not being applied. And I think that that's the real problem. And I was recently just talking, or I was writing to somebody about, they were talking about like charities and um, something else. Um, I totally just brain farted everything that I was. What was that post even about? I wonder if I can pull it up quickly though. Um, Let me see. Do do do. Um,
I would vamp, but then I'm going to confuse you and you're going to forget even
yeah.
more.
Well, I'm just kind of like looking at stuff. Oh, it was. It's probably completely has nothing to do with this. He was talking about like um making posts and stuff like that. Oh, I think that's maybe a side thing. Is somebody they were commenting about how um donating to charities is far better than making posts. Um,
Yeah.
and my opinion, I don't think that charities are very useful. I
I
think
think
that
that
they're
the
largely a
charities are not
scam.
all the same. Charities are not all the same just because they label themselves as a charity.
True.
I think
I don't
some
trust.
charities are very good.
I just don't trust charities. I think that in effect a lot of what can happen. So okay, here's what it is. There is the link. Okay, I remember it now. Charities are kind of like a they have an incentive to keep their charity going, and a lot of the money that goes into these charities, it it goes to the employees, it goes to the operation, it goes to all of that kind of stuff. And so, and then when they do those things, when they do put their money towards things, it oftentimes doesn't work. It doesn't actually help because it's more compassionate and it's more sympathetic, especially in the homeless arena. So that's where you get, well, there's people who are getting diseases from needles, so we're going to provide them with needles because that's compassionate and we want to help these people. These people don't have food and they don't have a good means to get food, so we're going to provide them with food. There's shelter, and so you're effectively removing all of the incentives for them
Yeah.
to make their lives better by
You're
just
very
providing it
correct.
all to
So
them.
they do need to earn it all along the way, and I believe that's how I've always believed about all sorts of welfare. It's hard. The transition is the hardest part. It's because people are living off of these things now, and there's a learning curve where people could die, right? I mean,
Sure.
so it's the transition's hard, but in general, having a system structured that is not just that is like welfare should be something like food stamps shouldn't be as huge as it is right now. It's ridiculous. They spend more on food than I do. Um,
It is pretty crazy.
I don't remember what the exact numbers are right now, but it's somewhere like $600 or something like that, or I don't know, depending on the number of people. But I don't really know any numbers. But at one point in time, I knew how much they were getting and how much I was spending,
Yeah.
and it was more. And it's
But here's the interesting thing is that when you look at the situation of just in concept of San Francisco and Gavin Newsom, the the resources were there. And that tells me that we have the resources to fix a lot of other problems. It's just that there needs to be a political optical pressure that gets put on them. And so when you look at a lot of the stuff that actually ends up getting done, it gets done because people are talking about it, because people are posting about it, because people are making a fuss about this thing that then requires these people to take action towards it. It's the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? And so I think that we have all of this. I think that the solutions are there, that we already have the capabilities of solving a lot of our problems. It's just a matter of creating the from the public, creating the demand for action to be taken. I was talking with my mom a couple months back, because in Tacoma, that's the area that she lives in. And when she first kind of moved over there, it was there weren't homeless people like at all,
Correct.
basically. And then all of a sudden there's all these homeless people, and she's much more on the liberal side, and so she kind of like waves off like, oh, like, um well, when I complained to her, she's like, well, what do we do? Like, how do we solve this problem? And she kind of says it in this funny way, as in like, because I'd be like, they're not doing anything, and she's like, well, they are doing something, and it's like, no, like, the solutions that they're aiming for aren't doing anything. It's that the problems, because she ends up having like people walking up on her porch, um, high on drugs, or shirtless, and walking up, hey, can I get a drink of water or whatever? And there's crazy people at her neighbor, and they're talking to God, um, and it's where they get to, like, justify whatever actions as God's actions, so they're able to do whatever it is that they want, because this is what God wants them to do, because He's directing, blah blah
Yeah,
blah.
yeah.
So there's all this, and so it's kind of like gone down, and I was like, look, I'm a big believer in talking about stuff, talking about issues, and um, raising your concerns, and sharing those concerns with other people, because when you have more people talking about a subject, talking about something, making posts about something, then the pressure adds up, it builds, and then action can be taken, and that issue can be resolved. But if you just sit there and you wave it off like, it's, they're doing what they can, they're just doing what they can, that's it, and that's all that we can hope for, is that they do their best. And it's like, well, they're not doing their best, and it's clear that they're not doing their best, and we need to pressure them, and we need to be upset, we need to be bothered that there are people who are walking up and down our streets like 10 times a day, the same person, and they're completely homeless, they're jabbering to themselves, they're sleeping on the grass right in the front. Like, this is a problem, and I don't feel safe with all of this stuff kind of happening. And so I just feel like, um people talking about stuff, I mean, you look at the George Floyd situation, and the riots that came from that all came because of posts. That all came because people had an issue with it, and then we had this massive trade. There's the Me Too movement is another one. You wouldn't have Me Too movement without people posting about it and talking about it. So I feel like there needs to be something.
Well, it was a series of posts. It was a hashtag basically. So
That's what
yeah,
I mean. Is it's posts. It's
yeah.
people talking about it. And so when in this group that I'm in, and this guy, he kind of posts like, don't make, like, your posts are meaningless. They don't do anything. You may as well, if you want to get something done, you need to do it through like, donate to charities. And it's like, no, it's, you need to, clearly, taking the example of Gavin Newsom, you need to put pressure, some level of pressure needs to be put on a politician in order for them to legislate and put into practice things that are actually going to fix the issue, because the resources are there, and if they are pressured into having to fix something, they will do it. The homeless problem seemed like it was, this is something that is unfixable. We don't know what to do about this. Nobody, well, people like me have solutions to it, but other people are like, I don't know what to do.
It's the willpower to be strong, which is the big weakness, and also just wanting to have endless more funds for fixing the problem.
Yep.
Some people just want to have more funds to fix a problem, and then they do whatever they want with the funds, and then they say, we still have this many homeless. We need more money to fix the problem." And they keep on giving them thing, and they get more people and jobs that generate ideas on how to fix the problem. They just keep on building
Yep.
the
It's a
infrastructure of people
scam.
around it.
It's a scam with charities. Oftentimes, it's a scam with government. It's a scam with politicians. Because if any of these people wanted to fix a problem, they can do it. They know how to do it. But okay, I think we're at time. Um, we didn't even. Here's what's funny. Quick secret to anybody who made it this far. We weren't even planning on talking about all this stuff, especially
No,
for an hour. We were going to talk about Israel and Palestine. But
which I'm glad we didn't. I mean, we can talk about it tomorrow or something. I don't care, but
yeah,
like,
we'll do this another we'll do that another day. I personally I like just whatever comes, let's roll with it. Um, all right. Hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification so that you can be notified on the next one. All right, you guys. Later.